Hey guys, this time around we will be using the Phaeston or the Phaeston, depending on whether or not you are an ancient Greek. I will be pronouncing it Phaeston because Phaeston sounds ridiculous. But anyway, the Phaeston, let us compare it to the Avenger. Rage. Alright, as you see, the Phaeston weighs more than the Avenger, larger capacity, greater fire rate, about the same damage, and it is more accurate, and the Phaeston's specialty is its extremely low recoil. So let us try it out. First off, point-blank range, fired in bursts, from the hip. Now doing full auto. So as you can see, just like the Avenger, very accurate, fired from the hip at point-blank range, maybe even tighter groupings. Let's now try short range. Enough. Still very accurate when fired in bursts, certainly can still get headshots, especially if you just shot more bullets. Firing full auto, though, I probably would just stick to center mass for the most part. A lot of missed shots here. Though we did get a number of headshots, so I suppose it is still doable, especially, again, with just more ammo. I would use more shots, guys, but I would like to just speed this along. For the hip, at least. So let us now try mid-range. This weapon reloads about the same as the Vindicator, which we have not seen yet, but a little bit slower, just a tiny bit slower than the Avenger. But as you can see, at mid-range, bursts really aren't doing the job on the head, nor is full auto, so at mid-range from the hip, you'd probably want to be firing bursts at center mass, actually, because full auto, again, from the hip does not really suit mid-range. Let's try mid to long range. As you can see, the spread is quite wild at this range from the tracers. And pretty well beyond its effective range at this point. That was mid to long range. I do not recommend firing the Phaeston at mid to long range from the hip. I assume long range will be no better. Unless we live in opposite land. Which, who knows? It is Mass Effect, so dark matter and all that. Never know these days with physics. So let's see. Totally useless, just like the Avenger. So this weapon really should only be fired at, say, point-blank range from the hip, maybe short range. Go for center mass shots. Alright, so now let's try the sights at point-blank range. So, just like the Avenger, pinpoint accuracy when fired from the sights at point-blank range. And ditto for full auto. Alright, let us now move on to short range and do a quick roll for some reason. Alright. Short range, still deadly accurate when fired in bursts, and the same really for full auto. You could full auto with this weapon for headshots at short range, no doubt. Alright, let's see. Firing in bursts, you can still get headshots at mid-range with the sights, and you can even really still get headshots with full auto, I would say. Excellent. Let's move on to mid to long range. Recoil is starting to become a little problematic. Let's try full auto. Alright, this was mid to long range. Fired down the sights. I would say at mid to long range, either you should burst for the head or you should go full auto for the body. Though full auto really was not that effective at this range, even when aiming down the sights. Burst seemed to all around be far more effective than full auto. Let's try long range. At long range, it would seem that this weapon is really reaching its peak effectiveness. I probably wouldn't bother with full auto at all at very long range, and just either burst center mass or maybe the head, but we really didn't get many shots here. A lot of misses. A little too low, it seems. Alright, let's try throwing in a scope. Now let's try point-blank range with the scope. See if it improves upon the sights. I don't see any real difference between this and the sights. I guess we do have a even tighter spread, but practically speaking, it's not really going to matter. Let's try short range. It is easier to deal with the weapon's recoil when you have a scope. It's minimal for an assault rifle, but it is there, especially when you're going full auto. Still, pinpoint accuracy at short range, either full auto or with bursts. Let's try mid-range. Still not super different from the sights, though, practically speaking. Hits are hits. Doesn't matter how tight the grouping is as long as they hit. Let's see. Very accurate when fired in bursts. Even more accurate, I'd say, than the sights. And same with full auto. Very, very accurate. I would say that's definitely an improvement over the sights at mid-range. Far more hits there. Try mid to long. Ooh. Alright. So burst, still quite accurate at mid to long range. I'd say that's an improvement, certainly for the head over the sights. Full auto, still solid for the center mass for the torso, but not so great for the head. Effective, though. Let's try long range. What have we got? Well, bursts are still quite effective against center mass. Not so much against the head, though we got some shots. Takes more than just a few shots to kill an enemy. On insanity, at least, though, even with headshots with an assault rifle. Comparatively, the head was not so great for full auto. Torso was alright, but even with the scope at this range, I probably would be firing in bursts, and I probably would just aim for center mass. So, guys, again, this is the Phaeston or the Phaeston, depending on how you'd like to pronounce it. It is a very accurate rifle, at least in terms of its very low recoil. It is better than the Avenger in pretty much every way, barring, say, damage. They do about the same damage, and it does way more. At point-blank range, I would fire this weapon from the hip in full auto, and I would either aim for... Well, I guess I would aim for the head. It was still quite effective, aiming for the head at point-blank range. At short range, I probably would also do full auto from the hip, but I would just aim for center mass. When aiming down the sights or with a scope, I would aim for headshots up until, say, long range, and I would go full auto up to probably mid-range. At mid to long range, I suppose you could still go full auto for center mass shots, but if you want to go for the head, I would aim in bursts when aiming down the sights or with a scope. At very long range, I would just aim for center mass, and I would fire probably in bursts, though full auto might be doable. It'll just take far more shots in the end, and it'll be less efficient. But thanks guys for watching. If you would like to see this weapon in action, check out my Engineer Insanity playthrough, and have a good one.